Ron Arad is the king of curves, crazy about unusual shapes, hungry for all kinds of colours and effects. The style of London-based designer Ron Arad is unique, recognisable the world over.
I'm interested in things that have serious newness to them. And the newness can come from all sorts of directions. The function can be new, the material, the process.
Ron Arad's furniture is witty and full of surprises. Sometimes you have to work out what to do before you can sit down.
It makes you hesitate before you do sit on it, but once you do, you're pleasantly surprised. You sit on steel that maybe looks sharp, but it's like a waterbed. Ovoid is the shape, like an oval, an ovoid, right? But void is also emptiness, so it's like void is empty in English, so it's called ovoids.
Ron Arad is more than a designer. He's also an architect. His office has realised projects in Japan, Austria, Israel and Italy. Businesses, apartments, hotels, all of them different. His Hotel Duomo recently opened in Rimini. Arad effortlessly combines design and architecture.
Work-wise, it's seamless. You know, we go from one to the other without... It's symbiosis, and it's a spectrum. You don't know where one ends and where one finishes. And there's a lot of objects in buildings, and the task sometimes is very similar.
Ron Arad was one of 19 renowned international architects invited to create a floor of their own design for the Hotel Puerta America in Madrid. The pressure of competition appealed to him.
My favorite thing is to get jealous. You know, if I go to a new building and get jealous, that's very good. I really like it. That means that I love the architecture. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen, and when it does, it's really, really good.
His latest project is called Pizza Cobra.
It comes in a box, like a pizza box, very flat, and you can lift it and make whatever you want. That glows when it's off, so you can find where it is, and then you can do whatever you want with it.
And although there's always plenty to do in Ron Arad's office, there's still time for a game of table tennis. And since the boss designed the table tennis table, of course it's not straight, but curved.
I'm not very good with conventions, so I create my own. I'm not very good with normal ping-pong tables, so I make another one so I can be good at it.
Ron Arad's speciality is to create things in just the way that appeals to him. But even this unconventional star designer sometimes has appointments to keep.
Chandeliers are becoming cult objects. Their decorative preeminence is unbowed. They refract light into enchanting shimmers that invite you to keep on looking. At the Emporium in Berlin, Marcus Speed keeps getting new inquiries. The luxury furniture and design shop has more than 100 chandeliers on offer, and customers keep coming in asking for more and more unusual models.
For every type of space, there's a type of light fixture. The customer gives a general description of the room's appearance, or I visit and then look for the fitting chandelier. Admittedly, it's likely to be a very modern or old-fashioned chandelier, or one that's made to look old, in order to break up a notion of coolness and set a different accent.
No matter which room, whether it's classic or quite modern, chandeliers always catch the eye, whatever the surroundings. Today, another customer at the Emporium seeks advice. Like most of the others looking for just the right light fixture, she wants to turn her apartment into a glittering palace.
People generally ask for Swarovski crystals because they split the light very differently and create a completely different mood. Of course, it depends on how the apartment is furnished. There are very modern chandeliers that are not decorated with Swarovski crystals, but generally there are chandeliers with crystals, which go back to the early French designs.
Chandeliers shine their light everywhere, in fashion boutiques, in restaurants and cafes, and in office buildings in central Berlin, which tend to be decorated with more unique models. Designer Isabel Hamm of Cologne creates these modern lustres. They are made from industrial glass that she heats and then shapes. The trend favouring chandeliers has her order books filled.
This shows first that people like to have lights and not just these cool shaded light fixtures, but also something emotional. And a glass chandelier fits that bill.
Isabel Hamm's chandeliers don't look like classical ones, but they shine and shimmer all the same. Her creations hang in buildings throughout Europe. A Cologne film company wanted to get away from cold neon light. Now the building is graced by a chandelier that's reminiscent of a frozen waterfall. It's the perfect enhancement for modern architecture.
Here we stayed very conventional. We worked very simply and classically with light bulbs. I also work with other forms of lighting, but here you can get a good idea of how you can use this cascade form very classically, but give it a modern interpretation.
In Berlin's Emporium, the customer has decided for a classic chandelier, which remains the most popular model. Interior decorator Marcus Speet knows that some customers will be back soon. Once they've turned one room into a palace, they want to do it with the rest of their home as well.
Adrian Fisher sometimes sees two of himself, and right now he doesn't know exactly where he is. But he's not worried. He'll find the exit sooner or later. Fisher enjoys losing his way, even in his own maze. He designed King Arthur's Mirror Maze at Longleat in southwestern England, all 100 square meters of it.
What's the point of life? Is it to enjoy every moment or just to get to the end and climb in the little box? I think the answer is to enjoy every moment. So when you're in a mirror maze, enjoy it, play in it, see your friends a dozen times. And sadly, sometime, sooner or later, it'll come to an end. But don't bring it forward. I mean, just have a lovely time.
Fisher certainly enjoys what he does, and he could well be the world's only full-time maze designer. It's now 25 years since he turned his hobby into a career. Now in his 50s, he's constantly thinking up new puzzles and mind games. His inflatable maze, for example, is a great hit, and not only at children's parties.
We need much more sense of fun and joy and trying things out. We spend our whole time running away from risks, from discovering by accidents and by taking chances.
Fisher's designs start out on the computer. He designed more than 500 mazes in 27 countries and has a team of maze gardeners working for him. His most successful innovation is to have paths cut through thickly planted maize fields, turning them into leisure parks for tourists. More than 30 such mazes have been carved out all over Britain this year.
Well, I always like to know the general setting and the landscape and the character of the owner. And then the thing to do is to use words to paint a description of the visitor experience moment by moment. And that's far more important than worrying about the bushes or the budget or the size. At that stage, I just want to create the whole experience. What is it going to feel like as you go through the journey?
Adrian Fisher grew up in the country and planted his first maze using holly bushes. He's laid out his own grass maze behind his home near Blandford Forum in Dorset, in southern England. It still has to grow, but the route into the interior is already hard to find.
Come on, figure it. Come on, last little bit. Good. A maze is one of the most wonderful art forms. It's part gardening, it's part landscape, it's part the playing and fun. It's part of a joy of discovery of how things work and the world around us. And it's something that everybody can relate to at the same level.
The hedge maze at Longleat, a country estate in the county of Wiltshire, is made up of 1,600 tall clipped yew trees, concealing almost 3 kilometers of pathways. Fisher enjoys getting lost here.
This maze at Longleat is simply the largest permanent hedge maze of its kind in the world. It's lovely, it's green, it's a living material. It hasn't got a single straight line in it almost anywhere, so it's always teasing and it's playful. I mean, it's just wonderful. I mean, if you've never tried it, just try it. It's lovely.
Adrian Fisher thinks there's nothing more delightful than being led astray. After all, in this case, getting there is more than half the fun.
Dutch designer Piet Hein Eyck recycles wood salvaged from demolished houses and turns it into unusual furniture. Processing waste material into something unique is his speciality. He lives near Eindhoven in the south of the Netherlands. His current project is a closet for a children's bedroom.
So we make a huge cupboard with windows and doors and paneling, all old. And the only thing they said is, okay, it's good, but we need some real box or drawers where we can put all the real rubbish in.
Eyck has a very practical approach to his work. His designs are inspired by the material available.
In earlier days, I always collected all kind of doors and windows from old places. And nowadays, I have a collection from then. So outside, we have like hundreds of doors and windows. Well, I'm trying to fit in the different sizes now. So that's the whole thing, to find the right shapes and the different sizes that it fits more or less together.
He favors simple shapes and one basic concept. However humble the original material, it can always be turned into something exquisite. In the early 1990s, he opened his own workshop.
This is the first model I made. It's the classic cupboard. We call it like that because of the frame, like the 3 drawers and the 2 doors, which is very classic. It was to get my degree, so it's cool. And it was quite the opposite of what everybody did, because at that moment it was industrial design I did, and everybody wanted to use perfect materials, perfect hinge, everything should be perfect. And I thought, well, I like the old material better than the new material, so why don't I make a cupboard which is still nice to have, you know?
The materials often turn out to have surprising potential, like this old wallpaper adorning a metal cabinet.
This wallpaper we found, my wife and I, when we were studying, so like 24 years ago or something, when we were 18, 19. We had no money, so the only thing we could afford on the antique market was rolls of wallpaper. And only much later I thought, oh, I should use those magnificent old antique wallpapers on the steel cupboards. And then we made new cupboards with old wallpaper on it.
Design and production both take place here in the workshop. More than 30 people work here, and most of them are young. The atmosphere is relaxed. Come midday, everyone sits down to lunch together, at a table Eek made himself, needless to say.
We have a lot of furniture, like the table with the patchwork table. That's from leftovers from the normal scrapwood product. And now the final product of this project, the leftovers project, will be a huge house.
This versatile designer resists the prevalent demand for flawlessness and shows that products that aren't perfect can appeal to our sense of aesthetics and functionality.
From 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in just seconds, the legendary Porsche feeling associated with cars can now be experienced on the water. That was the idea German designer Roland Heiler had in mind when he developed this luxury boat.
You can definitely compare the driving fun. You have performance and a beautiful machine, and you move from point A to point B. The medium you move on is water, that's the difference. Maybe you have even more freedom than on the road, because you don't have to watch out to stay in your lane.
Heiler and his team used all the technical possibilities available for developing a car. Their goal, to set new standards in boat construction. The result is a fast, high-tech machine that also looks good.
Our basic idea when we design something is to always keep the function in mind. For Ferdinand Alexander Porsche, the concepts of function and form didn't involve one having to follow the other. Not form follows function. Rather, function and form are equally important and have to be in absolute harmony with each other so that the product is good.
Ferdinand Alexander Porsche founded the Porsche Design Studio in Zell am See, Austria in 1974. Before that, he designed such legendary cars as the Porsche 911 for his father, the company's founder, Ferry Porsche. Since 2004, Roland Heiler has headed the studio. He's continuing the tradition.
What we have very consciously tried in both the interior and the exterior design is to recreate the feeling of a high-value sports car.
The sporty bucket seats make velocity a blast. The boat can do 150 kilometers an hour, matched only by speedboats. The aquatic Porsche is the first in a whole series Porsche is developing together with a renowned yacht construction firm, Fearless International. The head of the American company has already tested the boat.
I love to drive the boat. It's very exhilarating and it makes you feel alive. And that's really what we're doing with what we're doing. We're creating, as I said, a lifestyle where people can feel alive and can sense everything about them. It raises your sensitivity.
The boat fits perfectly in Porsche's line of lifestyle products. Since the late 1970s, Porsche design has been turning objects of everyday use into luxury items. But the basic principle has never changed.
Because the design is very simple, reduced to just the necessities, the products last for a long time on the market. People don't get tired of them. They never become unfashionable.
The spectrum of timeless elegance from Porsche Design Studios ranges from the electric drill to the cell phone. But the construction of the boat is a first step in another direction.
This is the beginning of a period in which we want to do more transportation design again here at Porsche Design. There are still a few things I'd like to do. I'd like to design a big passenger airplane.
But for now, Porsche is at least causing a few waves on the water while still holding its own on land. And maybe someday, it'll do the same in the air.
No need for a valet in Jelle van Doen's world.
breakfast makes itself. And people can practically fly. The method the Dutchman uses to animate his daily life is stop motion. You don't need much equipment, just a digital camera, lots of photos, and a special way of looking at reality.
I'm doing stop motion films since I was 15, about 11 years ago. I started with clay figures, animated a little bit. I have to see something in it to which I can translate into something else, another feeling.
The 26-year-old likes to star in his own films and gets his friend Ruud Bakker to help him. Every tiny movement has to be photographed. Every second of film is made from 6 different photos. Later, they'll be assembled on a computer to simulate movement.
The best thing I like about it is that it's made without a budget and so simple with just a still camera. It's like you can do it at home or everywhere you want to do it, you can do.
You can also watch the film wherever you are in the world. My Animated World has become a blockbuster on the internet. Jelle van Doen's work has fans and imitators around the globe. It spawned at least 30 copycat films, a tribute to the animator. The master himself has already moved on to the next level.
Because of the success on YouTube, I started my own company to make these animation films also for other companies and Dutch television, also companies in abroad. So this one is for a German dating site. I didn't think it would happen to me that I could make money out of it, but I'm doing it now, and it's really great to do.
Van Doen's success has been almost immediate. The orders keep flooding in. Jelle and his girlfriend Anouk, who occasionally stars in his films, are pleased as punch. Jelle's animations are always set in his hometown of Breda, close to the Belgian border. Shooting the scenes requires a lot of concentration. Jelle often works for days on sequences that last for only a few seconds. But the perfectionist can't control everything.
The weather can be pretty frustrating because when it starts to rain and the pavement gets wet, I can't shoot anymore. Also, when the sun goes away, or like for instance here. Here I think it's really cool to see that the sun moves. But sometimes if you have it in one frame and then in the other frame completely different, then it starts to flicker, and that's not good.
The freshly trained media designer now has less time to devote to his pet projects, but he still spends every spare moment on his latest web film. What's it about? A piece of gaffer tape? Or is it a caterpillar on the lookout for love? But will it strike lucky? You can soon find out by logging onto the internet. The new film by Jelle van Doen.
Klaus Tonnet, the head of the family firm which bears his name, is proud of the chair, which still looks modern, even though its design dates back half a century. The wooden S664, as the chair is known, retails at around €700. In 1954, designer Eddie Harles came up with the idea of creating a chair out of a single piece of wood. The model is still produced in many colors at the factory in Frankenberg, about 100 kilometers north of Frankfurt.
It's a very complicated piece, and I have to admit the production runs aren't big, so we haven't yet found anyone to manufacture them for us. That means we have to do it ourselves, and we take a certain pride in forming wood.
The Tonnet Company won international renown in the middle of the 19th century with its techniques for bending beechwood. The wood is boiled in glue before being bent into the desired shape. It was a brilliant idea. In 1842, Michael Tonnet, the man who had the idea, was brought by Prince Metternich to the Vienna court, where he designed chairs for the Liechtenstein Palace. In 1849, he set up his own firm, which 10 years later brought out its first mass-produced model, the Vienna Coffee House chair, known as chair number 14. 40 million had been produced by 1930, and it's still in production today.
It was light. It was a piece of furniture that fitted well in a coffee house. Anyone could pick it up and move it around.
The coffee house chair is cheap and easy to transport. It consists of 6 wooden pieces, 10 screws, 2 nuts, and it's easy to take apart. The chair is the very definition of modern mass-produced furniture. Pablo Picasso, Charlie Chaplin, Liza Minnelli, Marilyn Monroe, and Lenin. These are just some of the famous names who owned a number 14 chair. In addition to beechwood, the company also used steel pipes in the 1920s. Bauhaus architects drew up designs, and Tonnet produced them. It's an honor for designers to work for the company. This chair is the brainchild of British architect Norman Foster. The company makes sure the designs call for materials to be bent into shape.
Ich kann nichts weglassen.
I allow no extras on the furniture. There's nothing that's not functional, that's not essential to the chair or table, or doesn't contribute thematically.
Indeed, classics like the S664 continue to delight buyers, with new models out every year.